On behalf of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, Law Connect is departing the scene, the Lion Honours winner, completing the race in 1 day, 13 hours, 35 minutes. It's the 29th of December, day 4 of the Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race, and Christian Beck and his crew securing that Lion Honours victory. That boat has now taken Lion Honours on 3 occasions, the first in 2016. But we're coming to you from the Rolex Race Village. Light conditions outside, a bit of sun poking through, and we started with 104 yachts. 30 have retired, including 9 double-handers. At the moment we still have 65 boats still at sea, including 14 double-handers. And the last 2 boats in the fleet have just, would you believe, entered Bass Strait, Blue Moon and Salt Mines, so they still haven't completed the halfway point of the race, and they'll be arriving at some time in the new year. Well, joining me is the voice of the Rolex Sydney Hobart, Peter Shipway. Pete, yeah, slow going for a lot of those boats, and a lot of them still in Bass Strait.
Yes, good morning, Gordon. Only 9 yachts have finished so far. We'll get a few throughout the day, I'm thinking, a lot tonight, I believe. The breeze is quite fresh now off Tasman Island. Coming into Tasman, it's a northerly, but it's expected to go back into the south again a bit later today. So if you're not around Tasman by lunchtime, you're going to be slogging it out again. So it's been a tough race for the smaller boats, that's for sure.
Well, I can tell you that Active Again, skippered by Stephanie Kerrin, one of 3 skippers in charge of boats over 50 feet. They are approaching the Iron Pot at the moment, and another 7 boats are in Storm Bay, including Arwen, again skippered by an elite sailor, around-the-world sailor, Sharon Ferris-Choate, the 2-time Olympian from New Zealand. So there's going to be quite a few boats in Storm Bay and coming through in the afternoon as well. But the 9th boat to finish was Ocean Crusaders Jaybird, skippered by Annika Thompson. So she's going to be the first female skipper home in the Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race in 2024, and I believe Evie Haseldine is down on the dock, and I think Annika is close by. So over to you, Evie.
Thanks, Gordon. Yeah, I'm here with Annika from Ocean Crusaders Jaybird. Annika, it is your 3rd consecutive win for the Jane Tate Memorial Trophy, being the first female to cross the line in the race. What does that mean to you?
Oh, it means a lot. It means a lot. Now, this year, I had 2 other females on boats over 50 footers that I had to look out for, and keeping Steph on Active Again behind me was my first priority, and they did well to try to sneak up on us, but we've managed to hold them behind us.
Yeah, I heard you saying before that it was a close battle at times with Steph in Active Again, them being the next boat across the line after you. Was there points in the race where you could visually see them on the water?
No, I never saw them. I did have Denali with us for a bit, but not Active Again, no. They were a little bit further behind us.
Yeah, fantastic. And I was speaking to Ian before, and he said that you did have some troubles with some breakages during the race. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we have a leaking shaft on the rudder. So we do taking on water. Nothing we can't manage though, and I'm happy that we built the boat the way that we wanted it. We actually put a bulkhead on this TP between the stern and the rest of the boat, so we could contain the water in there and just manage it with the pumps that we have on board. So yes, of course, they've been slowing us down a little bit, but nothing that were endangering the boat or the crew or anything like that.
Yeah, fantastic. And Ocean Crusaders obviously does some great things for the environment. This year, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so what Ocean Crusaders does is funded by my husband 2010 by him breaking the solo record around Australia, and now we're picking up trash. We're literally glorified cleaners. What comes off Australia, so in Australia we clean up about 185 to 200 tonne a year, and it's not by machine, it's actually by going out in the mangrove, in the muds, and picking it up by hand. So plastic is not convenient as soon as it leaves land. We also have Ocean Crusaders in Sweden, and the trend is that I'm picking up about 10,000 10 tons in Sweden, and in Sweden we pick up what's coming in from the Atlantic. Here in Australia we're picking up what's going out. So everything is coming from our rivers and cities and stuff. So we have to get better of cleaning up our land, Australia.
Yeah, amazing. Fantastic story for not only the ocean and saving our environment, also for females in sailing that are now winning, being the only woman actually to win it 3 times ever, the Jane Tate Memorial Trophy. So congratulations again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Evie, and that's a terrific performance, Peter Shipway.
Yeah, wonderful, isn't it? And they're doing a great thing for the environment as well. I don't think anyone would doubt that, and I think everyone would support them because it is a real problem worldwide. But fantastic, you know, they're here. She's pretty laid back about it all, and just a leak in the prop shaft. Well, that's another day's effort they've got to try and counter out there, but well done.
Yeah, and talking about the rivalry with Stephanie Kerrin, active again, who's going to be finishing probably inside the next couple of hours, and also Sharon Ferris-Choate in Arwen, the 60-footer. So those 3 female skippers in charge in boats over 50 feet.
Well, as we said, Gordon, at the in the telecast at the start, I think there's a lot of commodores of yacht clubs out there sailing, and on Ocean Crusaders Jaybird, Glenn Burrell, who's the Commodore of the Southport Yacht Club, he's out there. He was on Ocean Crusaders, so they've just finished. And the Commodore of the Cruising Yacht Club, the organising club, Sam Haynes, he looks as though he's won the race on corrected time. And Stephen McCullum, Commodore of the race partner, the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania, he's out there on Love and Wars. So a squadron of Commodores, is that what you call them?
Yeah, probably a squadron of yeah.
And also, I think the opening bit of trivia today, Gordon, the last Commodore of the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania that sailed when he was the serving Commodore, do you know who that was?
No, I don't.
Don Calvert on Intrigue.
Okay.
Famous name here in Hobart Yachting. Don and the late Headley Calvert, and Don's little boat Intrigue he still owns and sails. So.
And how many Hobarts did Don do, Peter?
Don did... can I get back to you? Do you know the answer, though?
I do, but I'm not going to tell you.
That'd be right.
Okay, let's go to the tracker then and update things. And as you mentioned, 9 boats have finished.
Yep.
There have been 30 retirements, including 9 double-handers, but 14 double-handers are still racing, 65 boats still at sea.
Yeah, well, you can see the boats that are around Arwen and Utsbar are at Tasman. Mistral's approaching Tasman, high on the list for double-handers, and she will be, barring accidents, will be the first double-hander to finish. And there's a few boats in the river already, as we said. I think the next boat to come in, I'll just try and make this a bit bigger, Gordon, if I can for our viewers. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. I've got to lift the map up. Hang on, where am I here? I think I'd know by now, wouldn't you? No, I'll go... How do I move this map? Oh dear. No, we'll get.
What's
we'll
that saying, Peter? If at first you don't succeed, do it the way your wife said in the first place. Okay.
Well, I know she'll be watching. She'll be laughing. Active again. Okay, that's the boat I'm looking for. Okay, she's halfway between the Rowell and the South Arm, or the Iron Pot. So she's getting close. She's good speed at the moment. So there's a bit of wind in the bay and the river. So those boats that are out to sea and not round Tasman should get round and come in probably later this afternoon or early evening.
So those 2 boats, 52-footers, active again, and also Ocean Crusaders Jaybird. Hence the intense rivalry between the 2 female skippers.
We can see Utsbar there. She's just the Rowell. Denali's there as well. Damien Parks' boat behind her. I'm not sure, it's not coming up, but there's another boat there behind Denali, and then we'll go across this way. And there's Tasman, Ecstasy's there, out to sea is Arwen, Kokody, the Frenchman out there, Volstar, Yo Baby. So they're about 5 or 10 miles from Tasman. So yeah, there'll be a few in later today and certainly overnight.
Well, we've got a chance now to have a look at the Iron Pot. We speak often of the Iron Pot, which is roughly about 11 miles from the finish at the entrance to the Derwent River.
There it is.
So let's have a look at the Iron Pot, and this is the second oldest lighthouse in Australia, Peter.
It is. Do you know who built it?
the convicts.
They did.
Yes,
Good work, Gordon.
yes.
You're really getting into your work nicely here. And do you know why it was called the Iron Pot?
Keep talking.
Well, nothing's definitive, but they feel that, it's a natural platform, and the whalers used it in the early days to pull the whales up on that ramp. And they used to leave pots around for fish or for whatever, and that's one of the theories. That's why it was called the Iron Pot. But it's not definitive why that name arose. But second oldest lighthouse behind Macquarie Lighthouse in Sydney, and as you say, built in 1832 by the convicts. So you see that on your way to the finish, and you know you're almost home, but boy, the river can still play some tricks on you, but you're safe and sound once you can round the Iron Pot.
So there's still, as we say, there are 7 boats looking down towards those clouds, which is that's looking towards Hobart, is it?
No, that's looking towards
down. That's looking
out towards Cape Raoul.
Out towards Cape Raoul.
The breeze a little earlier was about 12 knots from the northwest, but it doesn't look as though it's that fresh at the moment. But it's a wonderful thing to see when you're finishing the Hobart race. I can guarantee that.
And right at this moment, there are 7 boats in Storm Bay, and active again will be approaching this lighthouse, the Iron Pot, inside the next hour, we estimate. But we saw that Caro had finished, one of the handicap favourites, Caro, and we might just check in with Evie again now. And she caught up with a pretty famous navigator on Caro in his 5th Rolex Sydney Hobart, Peter Shipway. You know him very well, Adrian Stead.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I haven't seen him this trip. He's an English yachtsman. His father, a very famous yachtsman too, George Stead, who raced many years ago with Ted Heath on Morning Cloud. He wasn't on Morning Cloud when they won the Hobart, but George, Ado's father, had done a lot of racing with Ted Heath on the various Morning Clouds, and Ado, a professional yachtsman of great repute around the world.
Yeah, well, they were in good form. I think they won the Bird Island race leading up to the start of the Rolex Sydney Hobart. So let's now be introduced to this boat, and it's the mighty Caro.
When the front came through, and it was pretty vicious very quickly, we blew the jib out the foil and damaged some of the mainsail cars. So we had quite a bit to sort out, but once we got those, we were confident enough that that was good enough to keep going. The sea state was what made it really tough. Probably halfway across the Bass Strait in 35 to 35 knots or so, we ended up just dropping the mainsail and just had the J4 up for a couple of hours. The sea was just too much, so we just basically plodded along. Somewhere off of the north of Tasmania, we actually had no wind. We went from 35 knots down to 0 wind for about an hour or so. So we had to wriggle our way out of that. And then this morning we've had, I think we were becalmed off of Tasman Island as well, for good measure. So we were watching our lead get eaten into. The last 20 miles was great, a really good breeze, and coming into here doing 20 knots was fantastic, all the way into from the Iron Pot. So, but no, hard work. Most breeze we probably saw was 38, 39 knots, but the seaway was what made it really, really hard. The team did a fantastic job, and not enough to win on the handicap, but very much a race for the Volvo 70.
Yes, well, look, were they scallop pies, Peter, or bacon and egg? I know
Scallop pie.
they were. You had one this morning, I believe. Yes.
I've still got a bit on my.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
thank
was
you.
going to probably should have brushed your teeth as well. But yeah, Caro and Smuggler, they've had another ding-dong go. Smuggler finishing behind Caro in this year's race, but not far astern. And Smuggler, of course, had the bragging rights last year. What's the future for Caro, though?
Well, she'll finish 4th overall in the race here on handicap. They'll win her division, Division 1, and Smuggler will be 2nd in that division and 5th overall. I believe Caro is now going to be taken back to England, and she will represent New Zealand in the Admiral's Cup come July next year. And she's a part of the 2-boat team that makes up a team for Admiral's Cup, and they will represent New Zealand.
Well, I'm just seeing Smuggler finished roughly 2 hours behind Caro in this race, and again Evie caught up with the skipper Seb Bohm. So back to Evie Haseldine.
Going well on board Smuggler, team down doing about 17 knots.
I'm here with Sebastian Bohm from Smuggler, who's just arrived at Constitution Dock this evening. Sebastian, can you tell us a little bit about the race? Maybe from the start, I saw that you had some difficulties with mast cars in under a minute to go. How did you deal with that situation?
We managed to get it sorted in the end, but when we were hoisting the main, we realised that we were missing a car, but we managed to find it and get it put back on.
Fantastic, and I'm not sure if you know yet, but I think that you've won the Audi Centre Sydney Blue Water Point Score Series by your position in this race.
Oh, perfect.
Did you think that your crew selection assisted you with that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we've got a very strong crew. We've been together now for quite a number of years. The results are starting to show that, and it's always been a dream of mine to win the Blue Water Point Score, and to hear that we've actually officially won, we're stoked, very happy.
Can you shed light on what was the most challenging part of this race?
I mean, it was definitely one of the toughest races we've done for quite a while. You know, the forecast looked very ominous, and pretty much, you know, the most wind that was being predicted ended up happening, and we were able to get through all the worst parts. We were absolutely sending it. We all get along really well and have a great time on the water and off the water. When we had to throttle back, we throttled back to try and protect the boat, because we knew that we wanted to finish the race to be able to win the Blue Waters, and then we just launched it basically, so it was good fun.
The 79th edition of the Rolex Sydney Hobart started with 104 boats. We've now had 30 retirements, and one of those was the newest yacht in the fleet, Bacchanal, which was built in Nowra and is owned by the San Francisco attorney Ron Epstein. They had some boom damage and they were out on the first morning. Navigator on board Bacchanal was Tom Barker from the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, and Peter Shipway, I believe we have Tom on the line.
Yes, hello to you, Tom. Are you hearing us loud and clear?
Yeah, I am, Peter. I've got you. Hope you can hear me okay.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Tom, unfortunate for you guys to withdraw. Exactly what happened to you?
Yeah, really disappointing outcome for us, obviously, with the new boat. But we made it through the tough first evening in really good shape and having a really good battle, particularly with the other JPK Kokoda, and as it was coming to daybreak, we were preparing for the southwesterly change, and had everything snugged down and prepared for that change in wind direction. Unfortunately, just as we surfed down a rather large wave, the sort of boom swung into the middle of the boat, and as it swung back out and loaded back up, it snapped in two. So really was we were all taken quite a bit by surprise, actually. We didn't expect that. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary, and just a really unfortunate gear failure. So that was the end of our race. I mean, that's not much more to it, unfortunately, Peter. But here we are back in Sydney rather than enjoying Hobart.
Yes. Now, Tom, did the boom break at the Vang takeoff, or was it further aft along the boom?
No, it was further aft than that, actually. We're still sort of investigating and trying to work out exactly what had happened, but it was closer to probably the third reef point. It was probably about 6 inches or so inboard from where the third reef point takeoff is. So, quite an odd place.
The carbon fibre boom.
Carbon fibre.
Yeah. Tom, take us back a little. What were the conditions like, say, the first afternoon and going into the evening? How fresh was it for you?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Peter, really very close to forecast and what we were expecting. Nothing out of what was in our pre-race plan, to be honest. But we came through the heads, and it was pretty quickly up to 20 knots of breeze out of the north and into the northeast. And throughout the afternoon, just a slow, gradual build. Probably by sunset, we were well into 25 knots of wind. And through the evening, as was forecast and as was part of our pre-race plan and management, we had 25 to 30 knots pretty consistently, and the odd gust up to 35. I think the highest the crew saw on deck was about 37 knots. So it was certainly fresh, certainly windy, but very much as forecast. And we'd had our game plan in place and really was going to plan, to be honest, Peter. But that's about the most breeze we saw.
And Tom, any hairy moments, any spin outs or wild jibes involuntarily, or was it pretty much under control the whole day or whole evening for you?
It's always you know what it's like, Peter, in that hard downwind running. It's you're always pushing the boat very hard. We were very happy with how the boat was managing the conditions and the crew. To be honest, I was quite amazed at how long we held on to our biggest masthead spinnaker. We had an A4 spinnaker up and a full main, and in fact, as is the norm of many modern boats, two staysails inside that. So, every bit of rag flying that we could, we held that sail configuration really up until probably a fairly consistent 25 to 28 knots. Our crew just did a fantastic job in managing the sail changes down through the ranges. We did end up with a reef and a A6, a fractional A6 spinnaker on, which was very manageable in those conditions. And then, as we knew the front was coming, and I guess as it was getting closer to daybreak, we managed the sail plan down to go to a headsail for a little while. It did get a little bit hairy with the A6 on, but we had a couple of small wipeouts, but nothing drastic at all. We didn't ever have to get the spinnaker off to recover from those wipeouts. The boat, managed it very nicely, and we were able to get back downwind and keep scooting along. But that was basically how we stepped through it. We went from a masthead A4 down to an A6 and eventually a reef and an A6, and then onto a headsail as the front approached.
Okay, well, Tom, very sorry we're not seeing you here in Hobart, but look forward to seeing you back in Sydney, and Happy New Year, and let's hope for better luck next year. Thanks for your time, Tom.
No worries, Peter. Thank you, and all the best down there. Hopefully we'll be there next year.
Yes, and Ron Epstein, the owner of the boat, obviously clearly disappointed, but a very popular man around the Cruising Yacht Club. He actually joined the club to really enter into the spirit, and they had a preparation of a couple of months while he was out here in Australia. But it's a beautiful boat, and it certainly will be back. Let's now cross to the race village, and Peter G is with a former Commodore of the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania, who do such a splendid job as the finishing partner for the CYCA.
Good morning, Gordon. Good morning, everyone. Yes, here in the race liaison village in the Rolex Sydney Hobart finish village, which is such a wonderful place. The centre is the epicentre of it all, and someone who always seems to maintain a smiling, a welcoming face for those coming to Hobart at this time of year is Tracy Matthews, who, as you say, is a past Commodore of the RYCT and the race finish coordinator. Tracy, how's the race been for you so far this year?
Well, it's been, as always, a great race, and it's a little bit quiet here in the village at the moment, but we're looking forward to seeing most of the fleet coming in today and tomorrow, where our volunteers here at the Race Liaison Centre will be greeting them with a smile and some refreshments.
Yes, you sort of call it the calm before the storm. I was talking to one of the volunteers earlier who said her record in a 6-hour shift was 35 boats being welcomed and penned here,
yep,
and all that goes with that.
Yep.
You treat every boat equally. The super maxis have gone out,
yep,
but the smaller boats are coming in. What happens when they cross the finish line?
Okay, so when they cross the finish line, which is just off the end of the CSIRO wharf there, they're greeted by our on-water team, our berthing team, and they're giving instructions on where they're going to go in the marina. The berthing team through the rubber ducks will be then led around past the Taste of Summer, where they'll receive.
That's a real highlight, isn't it? Which is a
highlight.
surprise to a lot of the yachties that, you know, there's so many people willing to welcome them in such an enthusiastic way.
It's great. It's great for the taste, and it's also great for the yachties to see how much Hobart really welcomes them in, and how exciting it is for them to go past everyone sitting up there on the wharf enjoying their time. So once they've done that, they then come around to the entrance of King's Pier, and the rubber ducks assist them in berthing their boats. I mean, they're all professionals. They know how to berth their own boats.
But they don't know exactly where they're going, do they?
No. So they need to be advised by our patrol boat teams, our berthing teams. And as you can imagine, with so many boats coming into a small marina, small space, it is a bit like a huge Jenga puzzle until they all arrive.
And 100-footers down to 30-footers.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a pecking order, isn't there, as to where you can fit them?
Well, it's not so much a pecking order. It's more of based on the length of the boat, the depth of the draft of the boat, and the width of the boat.
So that's all taken into account.
Yeah. It's like a huge jigsaw. And as boats retire, which then frees up berths, it's amended to make sure that everybody has the best experience they possibly can.
And when they're penned up, people that have been down here have probably seen the slab of Cascade go on board. One of the volunteers has got that responsibility. Always very welcome.
Yes, well, once they're safely in their berth and they're all tied up, their friends and family can meet and greet them. They're then met by volunteers from here at the Liaison Centre with their refreshments, plus also, really importantly, they get a quarantine bag, which they have to remove all their fresh fruit, vegetables, seeds, meat products, etc. from the boat. And disposed of properly. They also get a few bits and pieces from our sponsors here, and a hearty welcome from the volunteers.
And finally, do you have any problem filling this liaison centre and getting volunteers from the Royal Yacht Club?
No, and actually this is only one of our teams. Over the whole race we have 5 separate teams of volunteers who work 24/7 during the race, from the race committee, the radio room, the on-water team, in the finish box where they cross the line, and here at the liaison centre. We have probably over 200 volunteers, and over the year and then during the race, we probably volunteer over 2,500 man-hours to the race. Yeah, it's great for the volunteers. It's great for the club.
Yeah, and a lot of smiling faces, as I've said.
Yeah.
Well done to you and the RYCT team.
It's a pleasure. Thanks.
Yes, well, a volunteer army, Peter, and very much a team effort.
Is Peter G trying to show off how tough he is? I mean, it's freezing down here. He's just down in a polo shirt, but he might know any jumpers. I don't know. What's the story?
Now, you've been trying to catch me out on trivia questions. I've got one for you. You mentioned that Macquarie Light is the oldest lighthouse in Australia.
Yeah, as soon as I said that,
when was it built?
Before 1832. Let me have a go at 1819.
We've absolutely nailed him here. He's about 60 years out. 1881, and I suppose you can't tell me who built it either.
1881.
I mean, you live in the area. It's part of your electorate.
It flashes into my bedroom every night.
Yeah.
Now, look, again...
James Barnett built it between 1881 and 1883. But let's get on to the Sydney 38s. They have their own private war in the Rolex Sydney Hobart.
There's a lot of them out there, isn't there?
Yeah, and Clockwork is out there at the moment. They have about 120 miles to go. And Andrew Lloyd and Mary Ann Lloyd from South Australia. And I think, Peter, this is a great example of perfect preparation and meticulous maintenance. We'll get a real insight here from Lisa Darmanham, who caught up with the husband and wife combination before they left the CYC.
Here we are on board Clockwork with Andy and Marianne. You two have had a pretty busy year since the last Hobart. What have you been up to?
Well, we went sailing and we kept sailing. I think we've done the equivalent of about 15 Hobarts in the last 12 months. We've been right up the east coast as far as Magnetic Island and some of the women's keelboat regattas around the country. A lot of fun. It's been good.
And this boat is from South Australia, and you've made the journey back here to go back down to Hobart. How was last year, and are you looking forward to this one?
I'm looking forward to this year being not quite as robust as last one. We sort of got in some reasonable weather. We got some fantastic shots of us.
What's going on today to set you up?
List number 2, which is the things we've got to do before we leave on Wednesday. There's not too much there, but there's enough. I've just been doing a check of the whole steering system to make sure that's working. And we've got a program over the next few days where we'll go through every system on the boat, main sheet, lifelines, mast systems, control systems, one by one, just through the whole thing to make sure everything's the way it should be. And I think it's pretty good. But I joke and say I've introduced myself to 4,217 nut, bolts and screws on the boat over the last year, and I think I've met them all.
Plenty of tinkering going on then.
Plenty of tinkering. And to be fair, you did a fantastic job for the preparation last year. We did have a interesting time on the way up to Sydney and down and around Hobart and home, and the sum total of the damage to the boat was the broken toilet seat and one of those little white clips that holds the pretty orange string down at the front, which is worth 10 cents or something like that. So he does a great job making sure the boat's in one piece.
It's all very important. Well, thank you for chatting. Good luck for the race and enjoy.
Good luck, all of you.
23 double-handed entries started this year's Rolex Sydney Hobart. 9 of those have retired, including Rum Rebellion, co-skippered by Shane Connolly and also Tony Sutton. Shane, former Federal Assistant Commissioner in the Federal Police and in charge of criminal operations, he was washed overboard, and the first retirement last year, a miraculous piece of seamanship to get back on board, but they were forced out on the first morning. And I believe Shane is on the line with you at the moment. Peter Shipway.
Yes, hello to you, Shane. Where does one find you at the moment, Shane?
Good morning, Peter. I'm at Beam, Jarvis Bay, up north towards Sydney.
So you're delivering the boat back. Shane, just talk to us quickly. What happened in this year's race to Rum Rebellion?
We were having a good race, Peter. The conditions started out very well. We had to kite up. Things were going swimmingly, but as the day wore on, we were reducing sail to meet the conditions. The wind was building, as you know, and the sea was building, and from about 3 directions, anywhere between northwest and northeast. So we were going very, very fast. We were running a fold-out jib and 2 reefs in the main, and we were still doing about knots at top speed, surfing down waves. We're both extremely wet. We were both very tired. We hadn't slept at all because the autopilot wasn't up for the conditions, so we were hand steering all the way. And then around the incident, we had a Chinese drive where Tony was washed underwater, still tethered to the boat and still in the boat. And at that point in time, I decided to use prudent seamanship. I thought we were pushing our capabilities and pushing ourselves beyond our capabilities, so I made the decision to retire at that point.
And Shane, sorry, the line was breaking up a little bit there. How fast were you going, and what time of day did you retire, or evening?
We retired about 5:30 a.m.
So that was the morning of the 27th. And how fast were your top speeds? And what was the top wind speed you saw, Shane?
39 knots.
That was the top wind speed, obviously. And what were you running under? A pulled-out jib, did you say?
Pulled-out J4 and 2 reefs in the main, and then.
And I guess, Shane, with a double-hander with the autopilot not working efficiently, it would make things a bit tough to continue, and I guess that was one of the overriding factors of why you retired.
Fatigue, and we were very wet. We'd both been cooped a number of times, so we were wet to the bone. We'd tried to get dry clothes, but we were busy working, as you'd imagine. So fatigue and cold, and also the circumstances that were prevailing in other boats and the tragedies were occurring. Led me to the decision of showing some prudence and looking after the boat and the crew.
Yes, I quite understand that. Well, Shane, thank you for your time. I'm sorry we don't see you here in Hobart, but I look forward to seeing you back in Sydney, and Happy New Year, and have a safe passage back to home port. Thanks for your time, Shane.
Thanks, Peter, and please our condolences to the crew of both boats and their families.
Shane Connolly then, and Peter, we might just have a look at the tracker, if that's okay, at the moment.
Well, the standings, I think we'll
look
at.
The
Gordon.
standings are very important because Celestial V70 is going to take out the handicap overall prize for Sam Haynes, and you caught up with Sam this morning.
Yeah, I saw Sam at breakfast and congratulated him, and he was obviously overjoyed, but very cognizant of the situation of the race and the events that had taken place in the first 24 hours, and very obviously respectful of that. And as Commodore of the club, it was a fantastic performance in that Volvo 70. And okay, Gordon, now you set me up, and I'm going to set you right up here. The winning margin on corrected time there is 9 hours and 45 minutes. It's an incredible delta between the time of Celestial and Law Connect. The difference in time, you can see Celestial's corrected time 2 days, 16 hours, 40 minutes, 38 seconds. Second place boat, Law Connect, 3 days, 2 hours, 25 minutes and 20 seconds. It's the second greatest winning corrected time margin in the history of the race. Now, do you know what the greatest winning margin was?
Was it a Wild Oats margin?
No. It was right back in the original race, 1945, Rani.
Okay.
I think it was 1 day, 5 hours she won by. So it's an incredible statistic, really, to show how dominant this Volvo 70, Celestial V70, was in this race, and how the conditions suited her to win by such a huge margin.
And Rani finished on New Year's Day. Is that right?
I wasn't here, but were you here?
You finished your first race on New Year's Day, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. And did you get seasick? No, answer truthfully.
I think just out of the heads, yeah, a little Christmas cheer came
Christmas
up.
cheer, okay, yeah.
But no, I mean, just getting back to Celestial's victory, I mean, it's outstanding victory, and all the big boats have, 1, 2 and 3 on the corrected time order, and nothing can beat them now with Celestial, Law Connect and Wild Thing 100.
We've seen another mighty performance by Mistral, Rupert Henry, this year.
Well, he's got to get home, but at the moment, incredible. I mean, I say it each year for the last 3 years that he looks as though he'll be the winner of the double-handers, both on line honours and certainly on corrected time for the third successive year. And boy, that's an outstanding performance.
Well, let's just recap on Mistral, and it's been a fantastic performance, and Rupert Henry, again, he's going to take out the double-handed prize.
We had really good conditions for this boat, and also the crew, they were the right guys, epic crew. Managed to make really good gains for the first day, but we knew that our best gains would probably be Bass Strait. That's where we sort of managed to get some really good distance, but it was absolutely nuclear out there. It was so rough, the sea state, so windy, and just limiting the number of people on deck so we could just keep the boat lit up, and just getting across there was really, really hard work. And then managing to get down the Tassie coast and around the corner, that was a lot easier when the seas flattened out. Yeah, we ripped the A3 very soon after the start, and that was like a vital sail. So when that went, that was kind of like a bit disheartening. So we had to kind of reorganise how we were going to approach our route because it relied on the J3 a lot. So we just changed that a bit. We also had the J4, which was again a very important sail that blew up as well. So that was another sort of tactical or strategic way around that, where we had a large head sail and a very small head sail, and we had to go between the two. Yeah, really hard work for the crew. But they stood up for it, and these guys they're probably the most professional crew that I've ever sailed with. Although we have sailed together now for a few years, it's just a great experience being part of it all.
On the dock with Rupert Henry, winner of the double-handed division, winner of the 4th division last year and 6th overall. That was a pretty good feat last year. Can you let us in on any of your secrets? What sort of upgrades are you making to make a boat like this a little bit quicker, a little bit easier to handle maybe?
Well, it's a slow evolution. We're always keeping lists when we sail. So, there's nothing groundbreaking. I think instrumentation-wise, we're pretty much the same. We've got some new sail designs done, so you can just try and generate a little bit more speed and power. Personnel-wise, my co-skipper is Corentin Duguay. He's a fantastically experienced sailor, and we sailed together in France in the Class 40 stuff this year.
Okay.
So I think one of the major things I've done for preparation this year has actually been sailing a lot.
The solo sailors and the double-handers in France, they're huge. Sounds like your partner that you'll be sailing with is also French. It's growing, the double-hander class. This year we've got 23 for the Sydney Hobart Yacht Race. Who's your tough competition? Everyone is, but...
there's... I suppose out of the 23, there'd be like half of that would be what you call the Grand Prix double-handed segment, and depending on the conditions, various boats have their sweet spot. I'm not going to name names, but we know which ones to watch.
Perfect. Oh, well, thanks for chatting and letting us into your boat and some of your preparation. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Yes, what a great sailor. And he still has about 50 miles to go on Mistral, Peter.
I wouldn't like to play poker against Rupert. He doesn't give much away, does he?
Cards you can see, very close to the chest.
But
very competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been watching his progress through the year, and he tinkers away at that boat, and he goes out sailing by himself, and he puts a lot of effort into it. And the proof of the pudding's in what's happening now in the standings in the double-handed.
Yeah, a 34-footer in under 3.5 days. It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Same as last year.
Two-handed.
He was sixth overall, and there's the standings at the moment for the double-handed division in IRC. See Mistral leading there. He's 54 to go, so he's sort of not to Tasman yet. He's about 15 miles short of Tasman. And then Disco Trooper, Contender Sailcloth, Jules Hall and Jan Schulten, they're in second spot on handicap. They were the inaugural winners of the double-handed division in the first year that the club ran it. And Jupiter, Ian Smith from New South Wales, he's in third spot, but 138 miles to go. So Rupert won't want to stub his toe here, because Disco Trooper and Jupiter are not that far behind, but at the moment he's looking reasonably assured of getting first boat home in the double-handed division, and probably the handicap as well. But Storm Bay, as we say every year, and the River Derwent still got a few tricks to play out, but at the moment Mistral clearly ahead.
Yeah, it's a tricky finish on the water, but it's also the best finish, I think, of any ocean classic. To finish in Hobart, the local hospitality, all of the attractions, and the island state, Tasmania. We talked about the wines, Peter, but some wonderful golf courses. Barnbougle, I know you're not such a keen golfer, but your wife is a very keen golfer, and maybe that's a little anniversary treat that you might be able to afford her to come and play some of these great golf courses. Barnbougle,
you're setting me up here. Well, it would be nice.
I'm just trying to sow a seed, but I know that the Cruising Yacht Club and the race sponsor Rolex are greatly indebted to Tourism Tasmania for their ongoing support of the great race.
This place has it all. Rich history, 360-degree views, and slow-moving fluffy lawnmowers.
Yes, and as I say, that's another must stop over Maria Island. That's a lovely 3-day walk you can do as well. So
I hope that
come to Tasmania.
I hope that gentleman with that voice is not there. It's very scary, isn't it?
Yes, very scary indeed.
I'm scared already.
Yeah,
but we might contemplate coming down here for a golfing holiday, my wife and I.
But it's very much an eco island, though, Maria Island. Lovely, pristine beaches, wonderful scenery, and I really do recommend that. But what about the Iron Pot? That's the entrance to the Derwent River, and we might leave you with the images from the Iron Pot, because there's 7 boats in Storm Bay at the moment, and others closing down the Tasmanian coast. And the next boat to finish will be, I believe, active again, Stephanie Kerrin, another female skipper, but conditions are relatively sedate at Storm Bay. It can be a lot worse than this, Peter.
Yes, but I think what we're seeing here, Gordon, is the good news is that there's a bit more breeze than when we were looking at it about 20 minutes, half an hour ago. There's good white caps there, and you can see that a few yachts are around Cape Rowland on their way to the pot. But now, good breeze. That looks excellent sailing breeze. Long may it last.
That looks like active again. Not that I can read the sail number, but we must also remember that there's other yacht races going on. There's the Launceston to Hobart and the West Coaster from Melbourne to Hobart. But that, to me, would be active against Stephanie Kerrin in her 52-footer, coming up to the Iron Pot. But other yachts also in those races that are being conducted simultaneously. So it certainly is a beautiful scene as we look down Storm Bay.
Lovely shot there, but see a lot of white caps in the bay, so that could be a good, quick, swift passage up the river once they get to the Iron Pot. Yeah, you can see the wind there. That's a good sign.
Well, Peter, our next broadcast will be at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and we'll be continuing with that program at 10 a.m. and 4 o'clock every day. So make sure you join us for our live crosses to the Rolex Race Village. And of course you can follow us on social media and go to the RolexSydneyHobart.com website to cover all of the action. So I think we'll sign off on behalf of the commentary team and Dave Flower, our amazing producer here at Hype TV.
Absolutely.
How good is he?
Unbelievable.
And the team. They
Fantastic.
are just amazing to bring all of this fantastic action. It's been a very lively 45 minutes. We're going to have a cup of tea and maybe a bit of fruitcake, Peter. And we'll look forward to seeing you all again at 4 o'clock. Cheers. This has been a Hype TV production.